And we're back again. This time I'm sitting here with Shaun Kramer, our technical services manager. Shaun, technical services is a really important part of the service that we provide for our customers, our clients, and just about anybody that has a question on Viking product. And you literally answer what, thousands actually of phone calls and emails a year?
Yeah, we average about 300 calls a week that we take into the technical service department on all different various topics to offer product support to our customers.
Yeah, that's amazing. And actually we take, it was really interesting to see the Watts approach to training, because we take some of those questions that you have, and we literally build modules around them, like we've done with Tech Talks. So that kind of approach to things is we take information in, we help the customer, the client out, but then typically if you've gotten one or two questions about these things, or even more than that, there's a lot more people that are actually asking the question. And so that Tech Talks really does kind of take the greatest hits, if you will, the big 10 of any particular subject that you've.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I wanted to focus today on some of the newer innovative products that we've come up with and some of the questions that they've generated. And the first one I wanted to touch base with you on is what are the few questions that we have surrounding one of our newer sprinklers, which is the VK 426, which is the institutional sprinkler. So, how's that going? What kind of questions are we hearing on that, and what kind of answers are we given?
Well, with the new design that we offer now with our institutional sprinklers, one of the things we offer is now we both have the pendants and sidewalls in standard coverage as well as extended coverage. So we offer them both in both types of form for your standard and extended coverage.
Okay.
Right here we have an institutional sprinkler, and the cap's on right now, which is kind of a nice thing with the cap, because you can actually install it with the cap on.
Oh,
you don't have to remove the cap to install it and then put the cap back on. So it saves a lot of time. And with the wrench, you can't see the deflector here or the element because it's hidden behind the cap. But your wrench just fits on in one specific way. And right here, it says top on the wrench.
Okay.
So that when you have the sidewall, you know the deflector's right there and that it's at the top. So when you install the sprinkler, we have a little platform here that you can put a level on so that you can make sure that your deflector is aligned parallel with the ceiling without having to remove the cap from the sprinkler.
Yeah, that's really important with sidewall sprinklers, because you can really have a goofy spray pattern if
definitely.
If you're even just a little bit out of level.
Yep.
So
another thing that we have with each of our institutional sprinklers that we offer now is we put the sprinkler identification number right on the element itself. So for both the sidewall and the pendant, and then we also say what type it is, whether it's the pendant or the sidewall, because they look very similar otherwise.
Sure.
Now, if you put the SIN number on the back of the sprinkler per se, you can see it before you install it, but then once you install it, you're not going to be able to see that the sprinkler identification number is on there as well.
Okay.
So that would make it a little bit more difficult, and that's why we decided to put it right on the deflector itself.
Cool. So the next area of innovation, and I talked earlier with James about the VK 514, but that's not the only storage. We literally have storage solutions for lots of different storage challenges, and one of them is kind of the cold storage arena, if you will, of that whole industry. And we've got a couple of pretty innovative solutions that go on there, whether it's the VK 598 or our dry ESFRs, and so, but again, with all new innovations and things, there's technical services that are involved. So why don't you explain some of the things we do to help people out with solving the cold storage challenge with some of our Viking products?
Well, when we look at cold storage and freezers, we can see two different types out there. You either have your full height walls where they go all the way up to the deck, or you have what's called a box in a box, where you have a heated area up above the cooler or freezer. And in that situation, you're able to run a wet system above and then just penetrate down into the cooler or freezer for protection. For the box in the box type application, What we offer is a wide variety of different dry sprinklers. So if you start out with your smaller coolers and freezers, we have our standard 5, 6, and 8K dry sprinklers that could be used in that situation.
Yeah.
Well, once you start to get a little bit higher, we offer ELO sprinklers, so 11.2 K factor dry sprinklers. We offer these sprinklers in both quick response and standard response, and then we offer various temperature ratings to be able to accommodate for different situations that are being protected. Now, we get even higher than that. We have our ESFR dry sprinklers. We have our 14 K factor, our 16.8 K factor ESFR dry sprinklers, which allow you to have a larger cooler or freezer with higher storage as well as a higher ceiling height, without requiring in-rack protection in that type of scenario.
Great. And so how do we support that the 598 then too? I mean, that takes some calculation. We're doing water delivery calcs on that, which is something pretty important for a 598 design, right?
Yeah, so the other type of cold storage is when you have the full height walls. So now we don't have that heated area up above.
Sure.
So in that case, you have to be able to protect it all the way to the deck. And that's where the VK598 comes in. The VK598 can be used for ceiling height up to 45 feet, storage height up to 40 feet for a class 3 commodity, but you can use it with a double interlock pre-action system.
Oh. Okay.
So with the double interlock pre-action system, it allows you to have it in the cooler or freezer application with that high of storage without requiring in-rack sprinklers. So getting to your point and your question on the water delivery calculations, that's part of the listing of the sprinklers, that it requires a water delivery calculation, that you're able to get the water there within a specific amount of time. So in that situation, what we provide as support is we offer technical support, and we'll run the water delivery calculations in that scenario for the VK598 to help support the customer to make sure they can meet those times.
Sure.
And we've had experience over the years running these water delivery calculations. So a lot of the time we can just look at the layout and kind of see with the water supply as well as where the riser's located. And we can help assist you to see, whether we feel it will meet it or not, sometimes without even running the calculation.
A little bit of intuition that comes along with experience doing that. Sure.
Yes, definitely.
Sure. So the last item then that I want to ask you about is it's something that you really didn't think. Sometimes you look at the requirements in NFPA 13 and 13D and R, and you don't think this really is an issue, but it does come up a lot. It's a question that comes up, and that has to do with intermediate temperature sprinklers and their use in kind of ordinary hazard, light hazard occupancies, or even residential. So we get a few questions on that in the two categories, the residential or in our commercial sprinklers. So why don't you explain a little bit more about kind of where those questions come from and how we're able to help people, and not just our customers and clients, but even AHJs understand kind of where this where we stand with this and how we can use them.
Yeah, so with our residential sprinklers, almost all our residential sprinklers that we offer are offered in both an ordinary and intermediate temperature classification. So if you come across it where you have a maximum ambient ceiling temperature that could possibly exceed 100 degrees, you have the option of the intermediate temperature rating that allows you to have an ambient temperature up to 150 degrees in that type of application.
Okay.
So in the standard, in NFPA 13D in Chapter 7 and NFPA 13 for the 2019 edition in Chapter 9, it allows for you to install ordinary or intermediate sprinklers throughout the building. So if you think there's a chance you could exceed 100 degrees, it's really good practice to go with the intermediate temperature classification. Looking at that, for residential, for example, for a 13D application, if you have an unventilated attic where you could exceed that 100 degrees, well, now you have an option for intermediate temperature sprinklers, and we offer all our smaller K-factor residential that would be used in a 13D application in intermediate temperature classification as well. So that gives you an option for 13D Now, if we start to get into, let's say, high-rise apartments where it's a 13 application, but it's still residential, we offer all of our larger K-factor residential sprinklers for a 13 application in intermediate temperature as well. With that, what we can see is, for a good example, an apartment building, if it's unoccupied, when it's a conditioned space and somebody's living there, chances are it's probably not going to exceed 100 degrees.
Right.
But when these apartments are not occupied and it's summertime, I mean, even here in Michigan, you could see one of those apartments, if it's not occupied and it's not being conditioned, it could possibly exceed 100 degrees. And we offer the solution for that with the intermediate temperature classification. The last style that we offer would be the VK538. So even for beyond residential, we have our ECOH 11.2 K factor concealed VK538, and we offer that in an intermediate temperature classification as well. Possible application that you could see that being used in would be like a school laboratory, where depending upon what's going on in the class, you might have times where it might exceed that 100 degrees ambient temperature.
Okay, great. Well, that's just a sampling then of the kind of things that we talk about on Tech Talks. That's a sampling of kind of the questions and answers that you get from at Tech Services. So just remember, if you've got a question that you need, you just contact our technical services department. Shaun and his team are expert at getting that answer to you in a timely manner. So thanks a lot, Shaun.